Do you remember what it was like in 2007 to turn the radio on in Australia and to hear Straight Lines by Silverchair being played on every station? The song was such a popular phenomenon that it launched the Newcastle band back into the mainstream after years of absence and left a lasting legacy that the band has never provided an addition to. Silverchair built a huge following in the post-grunge era of the 90s after the death of Kurt Cobain. Many saw this Newcastle trio of teenagers as the heir apparent to Nirvana, and their debut grunge album Frog Stomp took the world by storm. Years passed and lead singer and songwriter Daniel Johns became more experimental with his creative output and focused on an art rock direction, drawing inspiration from soundtracks such as The Wizard of Oz. Their fourth album, Diorama, would be seen as a monumental flop upon release, partly due to its large departure from grunge. This coincided with John's declining health, citing issues with anorexia, drug use, and his lack of bodily energy. Although when Silverchair performed Diorama's lead single, The Greatest View, at the 2002 ARIA Awards, sales in Australia of the album skyrocketed with the newfound attention after the amazingly positive reception to the ARIA performance. After these ARIA Awards, Silverchair slumbered for quite some time, which allowed Daniel to work on his health and other projects. The band were barely sighted for years, but popped up again as a headline act for the Wave 8 gig in Sydney to a huge audience, and then performed a tribute to Midnight Oil at the 2006 ARIA Awards. Soon after, Silverchair would release Straight Lines, which would be the first new song for 5 years, and it instantly captured the hearts of the Australian community, quickly reaching number 1 on the ARIA charts, despite being a complete departure from their grunge roots. The song was held together by a gentle but catchy piano line, as well as a beautiful vocal melody. Here's co-songwriter Julian Hamilton of The Presets explaining how they came up with the song.
It's one of those strange things where it's like, okay, let's write some hits. Let's write some big Silverchair tunes. Let's write what we think, people want. And you go down that weird path. So we started trying to write these Silverchair singles, in inverted commas, and they all sounded really whack, that they were kind of terrible. But the whole time we had this other strange little song with these plodding little chords and this beautiful little melody over the top. And we kept coming back to it, and we thought, no, but this one here, which is not really a single, this is really cool, this one. But I wonder if I'll move over to the piano. I was playing the chords, and he started singing some melodies to go with it. And the first thing he came up with was... There was no words at this time, obviously. It was just melodic writing, so it was a lot of, kind of mumbling and doobie-doo and da-be-da. And at that point, when we were songwriting, we were trying to do this trick where you take a very simple idea and you sing it, and then you repeat it. And then on the third round, you don't repeat it again. You add a bit of magic and really capture their imagination. Yeah. So he sang the melody twice. And then he brought the magic. I can't really do it justice here singing it myself, but yeah, and that was Straight Lines.
I still remember hearing this song for the first time, coming into my early teens and really connecting with it. When it was released, I was just starting to become more independent in my musical tastes, and I was aware of Silverchair's older work. Though I think not growing up in the 90s in the thick of Silverchair mania helped me appreciate this new direction the band had taken, and I would have to say, even to this day, that the song is objectively an amazing work of art. It is incredibly catchy, yet intricate in its composition, but it still comes across as quite simple in delivery. I don't think there is another song out there similar in its composition to this one at all, and that is difficult to achieve for such a popular song. The song went from strength to strength in Australia, going 2 times platinum, reaching number 2 on Triple J's Hottest 100 of that year, and Silverchair won a plethora of ARIA awards for its release, which was buoyed by the success of their album Young Modern. Despite the immense success in Australia, Silverchair released the song in America with grand plans of showing the song off to the US market with a performance on Jay Leno, Unfortunately for the band, the performance of Straight Lines on television was one of their worst captured on film due to Daniel's voice being of poor health. Have a listen to what he said about it on his podcast.
There were a couple of moments, like the Jay Leno performance is kind of hilarious now, but at the time it was so bad. And then I got this really, really bad bout of laryngitis, so I could hardly even talk. And then I had to get like steroid injections just to try and get through one song.
You had such bad luck with health at crucial times.
Yeah, I do feel that. Some of it's self-inflicted, to be honest. Like, I wasn't taking very great care of myself before that Jay Leno performance and before that tour. We were partying heaps and staying up really late. I was smoking heaps of cigarettes at the time. So I wouldn't call that luck, I would just call it a bit stupid on my part.
This performance contributed to the song flopping in the States, which was a great shame. Silverchair have not released any music since their fifth and final album, Young Modern, in 2007, and Daniel's words on his podcast lead us to believe that they will most likely never return to a recording studio together again. The legacy of Straight Lines has lived on with continued consistent airplay on classic Oz rock radio, as well as being voted into both Triple M's Ozist 100 and Triple J's Hottest 100 of the past 25 years. Many die-hard Silverchair fans will look back on their work with more fondness of their earlier stuff, and I agree that the songs like Tomorrow and Freak are iconic, but Straight Lines will always have a soft spot in my heart for where I was in my life when it came out. It's disappointing that still to this day many diehards complain about Silverchair's change of direction in their later work, citing disappointment at less distortion and Daniel's higher vocal range. Straight Lines in particular wears a brunt of the criticism, with some people complaining it sounds much more like Coldplay than Frog Stomp. I suppose people aren't wrong when they say this, but Straight Lines is still an incredible work of art and a beautifully written song. Yeah, it's a bit poppier, but I'll reiterate what I said earlier. Show me another song with a similar chord progression or melody, I'll wait. It's a unique masterpiece of catchy songwriting that deserves all the attention it got.